So Walter Grimm, an author, has recently revealed that David Grusch told him Dick Cheney is pretty much the top guy when it comes to UFO information. That's a little surprising to me, but I guess it must go back to this interview that Grimm did with Grusch about a year ago. Toward the very end of the interview, after they've been talking about what they call the program, and that's the situation where the government is recovering these alien spacecraft, alien bodies, reverse engineering stuff, the Grimm says the program inside already existing black projects and spatial access programs, the Enterprise has been erased from view, even the view of many working on it who can't see the galaxy for the stars and planets. But surely, I say, our presidents must know, and our CIA directors and their ilk. Not necessarily, he says, of course talking about Grusch. I ask him to name the person who knows the most out of everyone who at least knows something. He offers a guess, off the record, a formidable figure from late 20th century politics, though it's not among the few that I anticipated. I'm only guessing, he reminds me. I tell him this style of interaction is maddening. Welcome to my world, he says. So that's a year ago. Now we have Grimm coming out and saying, well, he told me it was Dick Cheney. This is some strange stuff in consideration of everything that we know about Dick Cheney. He's quite old now, but to think that he would still be named as the one guy who knows the most about UFOs. If we go back here a little ways to a April 11th interview with Dick Cheney on NPR, April 11th, 2001, so 23 years ago, just before 9/11 happened. The questioner says, researcher Grant Cameron, since the statement made by George Bush last July, there is a vicious rumor circulating in the UFO community that you have been read into the UFO program. So my question to you is, in any of your government jobs, have you ever been briefed on the subject of UFOs? And if you have, when was it and what were you told? Cheney says, well, if I had been briefed on it, I'm sure it was potentially classified and I couldn't talk about it. Then Rim says, is there an investigation going on within this administration, Mr. Vice President, as to UFOs? Cheney says, I have not come across this subject since I've been back to government. Oh, like since January 20th. Rim says, all right. Cheney says, I've been in a lot of meetings, but I don't recall one on UFOs. Now, do you really think he would? Then it goes down here, and there's a little footnote about Star Wars, and you might remember this if you're old enough from Reagan's era. It says, March 2nd, 1992, New York Times scientists said to assert fraud in Star Wars. Now, this would have been in about the time that Clinton had come into office after the first Bush left. Scientists said to assert fraud in Star Wars. Defense Secretary Dick Cheney has been ordered by a special counsel to investigate assertions made by a Pentagon scientist that officials of the Star Wars anti-missile defense program had violated the law and engaged in gross waste of funds. The Washington Post reported in Washington's issue. The Post said the Office of Special Counsel had issued the directive on Friday after having found a substantial likelihood that Mr. Saucier's accusations were well-founded. It added that the director, who had also conferred whistleblower status on Mr. Saucier, who was dismissed last month from his job with the Star Wars project after complaining too loud, Aldrich Saucier does not seem to have been alone in his criticism of Star Wars. So here we have Dick Cheney being named by David Grusch as top guy on UFOs. But clear back in 1992, he was in charge of the Department of Defense, in charge of a program called Star Wars, which was accused of gross negligence in disbursement of funds. Who knows where the money went to? So that's 1992. Fast forward to 2001, and a statement made by David Rumsfeld concerning the missing $2.3 trillion that the Pentagon could not account for. Fast forward a few more months to September 11th, 2001, and that tragic day. Are all these things connected? I don't know. We got Dick Cheney, this player from the deep state, who keeps coming up over and over again. So who's in charge when it comes to UFOs? Until next time, this is UFO Warning. Over and out.